headmasters often have to deal with everything at the same time. So I'm sure that it was nothing personal towards you. I'm sure that anybody who was doing what you were doing, I'm sure she would have reacted the same way um, in that kind of situation. So schools, as we know, are high pressure environments, so especially for teachers. So it's a shame that she didn't communicate more politely. Um, but but the more professional approach wins the day at the end of the day. So um, you just have to say thank you very much appreciated. Keep it all positive, right? Keep it. People want to be so negative so much of the time, or they want to pass on their negativity to other people for some reason, and I where possible, I can be negative too about things, but where possible, I try to focus on the positive elements of a lot of situations. And one of the ways that I can do that personally is by asking somebody, "How can I help you right now? How can I help you at this moment? What is it that I can do for you?" And if they say everything's already done, then that's okay. Then no, that's better than okay. That's fantastic. Everything's done. That's great. Well done, everybody. Good job. What's
Hmm.
next? Maybe it wasn't about you. Maybe it was about her. I don't know. Maybe she had a bad morning. Maybe parents have been complaining. Maybe she had an argument with her husband. I don't know. Maybe her legs hurt. I don't know. Through our words, we express all different kinds of pain. It is very rarely related to what is happening right now at this moment. So it's um, most people who are angry will be angry at anyone, anywhere, for any reason. It's just about people being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Yeah, angry people will be angry. The same way that
Mm.
sad people will be sad and happy people will be happy. Uh, yeah, so yeah, somebody said to me last week. They said, "Oh, you look sick. Is everything okay?" And I said, "I'm in fantastic health. Thank you. How are you?"
Hmm.
Right? People will want to give you their negativity, and it's just necessary to refute it and move forward. I think I understand your perspective. You're doing extra work and you want to be appreciated for the extra work, and you don't get appreciation, you just get criticism. If anybody does extra work above and beyond what they should do, and they put in extra hours and extra time, and they get criticized for the extra work, it's generally unfair. We have to remember that, as Oscar Wilde wrote, all criticism is autobiography. So just as the headmaster being critical of you is a reference to her own situation, you being critical of the headmaster or mistress is being critical of your own situation as well. Her frustrations are with her job, and your frustrations are with your job. Each time we are critical, it is um, it is a frustration at our own inability to solve a problem that we have, or it's usually because something is out of our control. Yeah, so the headmistress can't make you arrive earlier. She can't go back in time. So that's a frustration. Um, and you have to do all this extra work as a teacher in the school, which, as with most teachers, you don't get paid for the extra work, right? I don't think you get paid for the extra work, right? You don't get
Oh.
paid. Very quickly, part-time becomes full-time in a lot of situations, especially in schools. Um, Give somebody an inch and they will take a mile. Yeah, so you give them 1 extra hour and they want two. You give them 2 extra hours, they want four. You give them 4 extra hours, they want you to come in 2 extra days a week, right? Um, It's it's really unfair. But it comes with the territory of being a teacher. Yeah, there's this unwritten expectation that teachers are always on duty, are always working. Um, a bit like firemen or policemen. In this role as a government servant, you are expected to always be on call, always be doing your job. My mother was and you can be happy, by the way, you can be really happy that you're not a physical education teacher, right? Not just because there's a lot of sports and physical activities and kids are crazy, um, but my mother was a physical education teacher and she had to work every break, every lunchtime, every after school, every Saturday, and sometimes every Sunday. Do you think that physical education teachers get paid extra for this? No. They get paid the same amount of money as all the other teachers. Physical education teachers have the same amount of paperwork as any other teachers. I know this. I've done it personally. Yeah. So I can talk about it. I have personal experience of it. And not only that, they have to correct the papers of the students who where they have to correct the papers where there are non-specific correct answers. It's not like A, B, C, D or what is 5 plus 5 or some mathematics equation or some physics equation. They have to correct um, the descriptions of the sports activity and the movement of the human body. It's kind of complicated to do that. Not only that, they have the most dangerous job of teaching. It's the
Hmm.
most dangerous job. Do you know how many of those teachers get physically injured during their work? Most of them suffer
Mm.
physical injuries during their job. It is the most dangerous teaching job. Not only that, you have to be extremely physically fit to do it. So you get all the same paperwork that all the other teachers have. You have to be extremely physically fit. You have the danger and risk of major injury during your work. And students injuring each other. You know how dangerous it is when you've got 20 basketballs flying around a sports hall, right? And the the differential between best and worst in sport is a greater problem than the differential between best and worst in, say, reading, right? Because you've got all of these you've got people who play basketball perfectly, and you've got people who can't even bounce a ball, and you have to get them all to play together. That's almost impossible, right? So um, that and how many other teachers are going to organize trips 2, 3, 4 times a week for their teams, for their football team and for their hockey team and their basketball team and their tennis team and their athletics team and whatever other special sports that the school do. Trips for the teams, transportation, um, safety, parental permission forms,
Hmm.
off-site activities, all-day athletics meetings, all-day athletics meetings, all day. Umpiring. Your Saturday and Sunday is spent chasing children around the field, blowing a whistle, dealing with angry parents all weekend. They have to look after their food. They have to be very careful about what they eat. They have to be very careful about what they drink. They have to look after their body. They have to do physical exercise. They have to go to the gym so many times a week. Um, it's can you run up and down a steep hill constantly all day with 5 or 6 classes? Well, there you go, right? And they have to do that until they retire. What's that, age 60 something, right? They have to do that until they're 60 because it's a very demanding physical work. You've got students changing in and out of clothes all the time. That's pretty complicated. Smelly changing rooms that you got to keep clean. You got to make sure that valuables and possessions don't get lost. Um, it's a. I was I took my kids for a walk in the local town. It was a nice day, and there's this big hill with this monument at the top, and there's an old castle there, and you can go to the top, and you can sit there, and you can see the whole town. It's quite nice. And we got to the top, and then all of these students from the local school arrived, and they were running up the hill because it was obviously their physical education class, and the teacher was there with them. And the teacher was like first to the top, and the students were all behind, and then back down the hill. The teacher's back down the hill, and the students are down behind, and the teacher's back up to the top of the hill, and the students are back up. Yeah, there's not many teachers that can do that, right?
Mm.
Every teacher is different, I suppose, and you get good sports teachers and bad sports teachers. Like you get good and bad teachers everywhere with everything. But one of the I think that people forget how hard it is for the sports. You know how so many teachers are waiting for the bell to ring so they can finish and get out of the school. Well, the bell rings for the end of school, and the sports teacher starts their next after school sports activity class, which they're responsible for. There'll be people in the sports hall, they want to do badminton, or they want to do netball, or they want to do fitness training or circuit training, or they want to do gymnastics. I mean, that's a pretty complicated activity to be working with. And maybe the school has trampolines, and there's just so many dangerous activities that are there where bad things can happen. So how many teachers have to deal with bows and arrows? Like I remember when I went to school, one of the activities was archery. Bows and arrows can kill people, right? Yeah, Robin Hood style. Yeah, and our teachers had to deal with that. The most teachers are unaware of the people only understand when the sports teacher gets sick and somebody has to cover their class. The school can't find anybody to cover the class because it's such a difficult class to cover. They usually can't find people. Yeah. At least if you're sitting in a classroom somewhere, you can give kids the books to read or projects to work on or something. But if the sports teacher is sick, it's a major tragedy for the school. And it's an endless task. It really is. With the extracurricular activities are so huge in sports. Again, it varies from school to school as well. I have a friend who is a physical education teacher in Germany, and he's a Slovak teacher who moved to Germany. In fact, he represented Slovakia at the Olympics in the high jump, and he now works for a school somewhere in Germany. I can't remember exactly where it is. It's one of the European Commission schools, and his job is endless. He has to travel everywhere with teams almost every day, like 3-4 times a week he has to travel. Like school finishes, he's with the team on the bus, they have to go to another school to play a game. He doesn't get home till 7-8 o'clock, sometimes 9 o'clock in the evening. But then every school, every department, every area in which people teach has its own complications, and it requires its own specializations. It's difficult for the sports teachers to teach English. It's difficult for the English teachers to teach art. It's difficult for the arts teachers to teach mathematics. So I think that each area has to respect each other area within that, and respect the disciplines and the hard work that people put into working there. The state schools can be quite cruel in their treatment of the teachers and students. Again, it varies from school to school. Um, so the, from the outside, the German culture has the appearance of being very disciplined. You can't have learning without some level of discipline. And I don't mean discipline like in the army. What I mean is discipline in the concept of disciple. As the disciples were followers of Jesus, they were followers of Jesus because they wanted to learn from him. And this is real discipline is the ability to control your own learning through following people that you respect. And so you can't really have much learning if there's no personal discipline involved in the process. And so if there's schools without discipline, then it becomes difficult. And also force means failure. So I think I talked about that before, that if you have to force someone to do something, it's because your skills in negotiation don't work, or your argument is not strong, or you're just plain wrong, basically. For example, parents should be able to persuade their children about what is right. They should be able to give them a series of very good reasons why something should be the way that it is. The parents should never have to say to their children, just because, or it is that way because I say it's that way, or just follow me, or just do this, or I told you to do it, why didn't you do it? Parents need to be able to negotiate with their children in order to explain to their children which way is the right way and why it's right. Otherwise, children will never learn what is right, because they'll always just be confused and be following orders, and orders might be right or wrong. You have to have some level of reasoning. Yeah, the children just copy their parents because that's all that they know, and children's job is to please the parents, and the children of authoritarian parents become authoritarian themselves. Of course, it's much more complicated than that. It depends on a lot of things happening around about. It depends on the relationship dynamics, and it now depends if there's one parent or two parents, and so many other factors are involved. It's very, very complicated, and liberalism has its own problems. Liberalism suggests everything is okay and that there are no borders or boundaries. But when you have no limits, it's not necessarily a good thing.